Welcome, fellow audio sorcerers, wizards, and gurus to my channel. I'm Dan Spencer, and I am the Audio Sorcerer. So this is a channel where we teach you how to perfect your audio recording, mixing, and mastering skills. So in today's video, we are talking about Melodyne 5. If you guys never heard about Melodyne, it is a plugin that allows you to fix pretty much anything when it comes to vocals. And you can also fix several things when it comes to instruments. So with this video here, we're going to talk about it strictly related to vocals. And we're going to go in and fix a chorus vocal that I recorded from start to finish. And this is for a new song of mine. And we're going to fix the pitch, the timing, some of the phrasing, maybe a little bit of the amplitude. And we're going to be able to go in and turn down the S's, like the sibilants of some of my words, which is a new feature that is in Melodyne 5. If you guys stick around to the end, I'm going to give you guys a few tips on how to also deal with vocal stacks and how to make them sound better. But before we get to this video, I do want to remind you guys that I offer mixing and mastering services. If you go to audiosorcerer.com, you can check out my samples and my rates, and I give 10% off to new customers. All you gotta do is sign up for that email list. If you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up, please subscribe, and hit that notification bell to know how new videos coming out. So with that being said, let's get to this tutorial. Alright, so we are on my computer here, and today we are talking about the new Melodyne 5. And I'm on their website here. If you guys don't know what Melodyne is, it's basically a pitch correction, timing correction, format correction, anything you can imagine. And it can do vocals and instruments, depending on which version of Melodyne you have. And Melodyne is made by Ceremony, I believe that's how you pronounce it. So I've been using Melodyne for years, and I was excited to see number 5 come out here. And this is what's all new in version 5. So we got the ability to edit pitched and noise-like components separately with the melodic algorithm, a more musical analysis of pitch deviations, the chord track and chord grid for pitch editing, chord recognition, the fade tool and leveling macro for editing dynamics, an additional algorithm, percussive pitched, plus other algorithm improvements, search functions for keyboard shortcuts, saving of shortcut sets. So those are the main new things in Melodyne 5. So let me show you the pricing for this in a different version. So if we click over here on Buy Melodyne, this will take us to the product page. And you're going to see that we have the Essential version here, the Assistant version, and the Editor version. And I kind of skipped over this here, which is like the full kind of Melodyne Studio. Honestly, anyone who's watching this video, you're probably not going to want this one here. This has more stuff than you could possibly need if you're just, pretty much editing vocals. So we're going to skip over that. So the Essential version here, I don't necessarily recommend because it does have some limitations on it. I think a good place to be is I call it the mid-range level here, which is Melodyne 5 Assistant. And that's what I actually am using right now because I can pretty much do everything right here. Pitch, timing, vibrato, phasing, formats, and dynamics. You have anything you possibly want to do for vocals. So when you get up into the editor version here, this is where they're using their DNA algorithm, and that's for polyphonic audio. So that's if you want to start messing with maybe a piano track or a guitar track and stuff like that. I don't particularly use Melodyne for instruments, so for me, the Assistant version was perfect. And if you're only going to use it for vocals, just get the Assistant version. The pricing is $2.99 for it, and if you have version 4 of Essential or Assistant or Editor, they are upgrade discounts to all these versions here, so keep that in mind. So now that you have seen all the versions and the pricing, let's actually go into Pro Tools and I'll show you what Melodyne can actually do. So the track that we're going to be using Melodyne on is my new single called Camouflage, and I have recorded the lead vocals for the chorus right here, and they're all comped and ready to be loaded into Melodyne. Now the key to using Melodyne is that you need to put it as the first insert on your track. And the reason for that is if you put this processing here before Melodyne, this processing is also going to get recorded into Melodyne, which we don't want because we don't want to make this permanent in case we want to make adjustments to it. So let me actually add Melodyne to the track here. Wait for it to load here. And this is what Melodyne looks like. You can simply shrink it like this in the corner if you want to make it a little bit smaller so we can see our waveforms here. So the first thing you're going to want to do is actually record your audio into Melodyne, and that's before I go over all these little tools here. And a little disclaimer is I'm not going to go over every little tool in here because there's several. I'm just going to go over the ones that I expect you to use the most, at least the ones that I use the most. And that'll save us some time. So to record audio into Melodyne, you have to first hit the transfer button here, and it will light up red. And then you just have to play the audio, and it's going to go into here. So you're going to hear that I have some pitch problems, I have some timing problems, and I also have some phrasing problems. So we're going to correct all those with Melodyne. So I'm going to slow it up here, and then I'm going to play it, and you guys will get to hear it.
Fear can blur the lines out there, we don't see the signs. Lay down your weapons, cause this is a fight nobody wins. Absolution will always lose, never make somebody choose. War is a mirage, so take off your camouflage. Yeah. Oh.
Cool. So when you're done, you just hit the stop button and you can see all the Melodyne stuff in here. So let me actually make this just a little bit bigger here. And we will zoom in a bit too. So this little bar down here, you can go on either side of it and kind of like shrink it, and it's going to zoom in like that. So that's pretty cool. And I left this on automatic for when I did the algorithm. You can define it to be these, specific options here, but I think automatic is the best if you're just going to do vocals. So this is what Melodyne basically read in. And something new in Melodyne 5 is that it can detect your S's and other syllables that are kind of annoying. And they actually show up with these kind of little multiple lines in them here, if you can see my mouse going over them here. And we'll talk about how we're going to edit those later. So what I recommend doing first is we're actually going to highlight a passage. So this here is a 4-bar passage. I can tell by the bars up here. And I actually know the song well, so I know what this is. So we're going to highlight this. And it's important to make sure that Melodyne read your key incorrectly before you do this, because the way I teach you to do it is the key needs to be right. So this is E minor here. And I've already ran Melodyne on a few other tracks, so it already knows that, hey, this song's in E minor, so it is already kind of set to there. And Melodyne's really good at finding your key. But if you happen to see that this is off, go in here and change it. So with that being said, we will click over here, and this is correct pitch macro. So let me click on that. What I like to do is I like to first click the snap to chord scale. Let me click that. And then we're going to take pitch center all the way to 100%. And we're going to take pitch drift to about 50%. And then we're going to hit OK. And we are going to go to this tool right here. We're going to click on it and hold. We're going to go down to the second option here, which is the pitch modulation tool. And while these are all highlighted, we're going to drag this down to about maybe it's about 92% there. I don't want to go a lot with it, because if you drag this down to 0, that's when you get the auto-tune T-Pain effect. We want something natural. So 92 down to 80 can be pretty natural. We might make adjustments on individual notes as we go, but that's a safe start. So what I did there was I've already corrected the pitch, some of the modulation, and the drift, all by just doing what I just did. But of course we need to fine tune it. So let's actually give a listen here and see what this first phrase sounds like.
Fear can blur the lines out there, we don't see the signs.
So that sounds pretty good. Let me hear it again.
Fear can blur the lines out there, we don't see the signs.
I don't know if there's anything I don't really like in there. It sounds pretty good. I guess what we should do is correct some of the syllabants as we go too. So that tool up here is going to be this fourth one over. Just hold it down. Go to the very bottom. It says the syllabant balance tool. So we'll have that one active. And then I'll go to all my lines here, and I will just reduce.
So
let's give that a listen.
Fear can blur the lines out there, we don't see the signs.
One thing too, so this is where Melodyne gets a little bit tricky. So you're going to see that you have little blobs here that also have lines that kind of go down. And it is probably best to separate these. And all you have to do is, while you're on your little pointer mouse tool here, kind of hover where you want to split it towards the top of it here. And it's going to make this little symbol there. Double click. And it's going to split it like that. So this does help make a little bit of a natural sound. So let's listen to Fear now and see what it sounds like.
Fear can blow.
Yeah, so that sounds a lot more natural. Sometimes if you don't do that, it gives it more of that auto-tune sound also. So there was another area here, right here, where I want to split this. Let's just do a double click right there. And let's give the whole phrase a listen again. You have to do a lot of listening with pitch correction, so you're going to hear this over and over as I do this, because this is a real time.
Fear can blur the lines out there, we don't see the signs.
So yeah, that's starting to sound pretty good. This little kind of slur down here I'm not too sure about, so I'm going to do a double click here and split this a little bit. That's going to bring that up there, and then maybe do another one here. Let's see if that sounds a little more natural. Let's see, go a little bit more forward here.
Out there, we don't see the signs.
And then we'll actually pull this one down.
Out there, we don't see the signs.
So that sounds pretty good. I'm starting to dig that. So while we're doing, a phrase by phrase here, we might as well fix the timing while we're at it. Question is, do we have any timing issues? So the first thing you need to do to adjust timing is, you're going to see this note over here in the top right is lit up in white. You need to turn that off. Otherwise, if you leave this lit up in white, it's going to snap to the grids, which we don't necessarily want for this. So if you go up to, let's see here where it's at. If you go to options and you go to time grid, I like to work on an 8th grid. Depending on your song, you may be between an 8th or a 16th grid, but 8th will work for this one. So we kind of want to look at the beginning of each of these blobs here and see if they are starting on lines, and also just use our ears to see if anything is far up. So let's give it a listen again.
Fear can blur the lines out there.
One thing, I might make this one a little bit earlier here. Let's pull that over. Let's hear that.
Fear can blur the lines out there, we don't.
Actually, I'm not sure if I like that. Let me undo that. Oh, by the way, if you want to undo in here, go to edit and just do undo and redo there. Your Control Z does not work while you're in Melodyne because it's allocated to Pro Tools, so keep that in mind.
Fear can blur the lines out there, we don't see the signs.
Maybe move this one over a little bit here. This can get real tedious, but it's a vocal performance. It doesn't necessarily want to be perfectly on the lines for every note, because we want to have some flavor in there, of course. Let's hear it again.
Fear can blur the lines out there, we don't see the signs.
Cool, I think that sounds pretty good. Let's move on to our next phrase. Alright, so for our next phrase here, let me scroll on over. And it's going to be from here over to here. Again, we'll do 4 bars. And then let me also move this over to where it should be. I think that's about right there. And let's highlight this like we did before. And then we'll go up to our pitch macro. Snap to chord scale. Pitch center to 100%. Pitch drift to 50%-ish. Hit OK. Go to our pitch modulation tool here. Second one down. Grab and pull down. It's about 91%. So I think it's a good start. Let's give it a listen.
Lay down your weapons, 'cause this is a fight nobody wins.
Alright, so let me give it a listen again.
Lay down your weapons, 'cause this is a fight nobody wins.
So I don't really like win. It sounds pretty wobbly. We'll come back to that. Let me get to our pointer tool here. Let me do a split right here. That'll be a little more natural. Let me hear that.
Lay down your weapons, 'cause...
So lay down your weapons. I'm looking at the timing. I'm looking at pitch. Just listen to how it sounds. don't think I want to change anything on that. I think that sounds really good. I guess the only thing we want to do is just grab these S's real fast here. So we'll go down to our syllabate balance tool. Down a little bit. Okay, let's give it a listen.
Lay down your weapons, 'cause this is a fight nobody wins.
Yeah, I think I'm really not really liking wins. So it gets a little tricky here because if we want to make it sound less auto-tuney, we have to kind of lengthen the vibrato. But at the same time, we don't really want a big vibrato. So let's see what we can do with it. All right, let's give this a listen.
Lay down your weapons, 'cause this is a fight nobody wins.
Yeah, it might be blending in pretty good when I have the other vocals with it, but I'm not sure. So let's maybe just take it in the other direction and try that out, see what it sounds like.
Lay down your weapons, 'cause this is a fight nobody wins.
I know that sounds a little more auto-tuney, as I call it, but I think that might blend pretty well with the double tracks that I have already edited for this. So you got to think ahead when you're doing this. So I'm going to leave it as is. One other thing I want to adjust here is this note here. And let's see, maybe we will bring this down. Let's hear what that sounds like.
Lay down your weapons, 'cause this is a fight nobody wins.
I mean, it's very subtle, but I feel like we need more focus on the G note, which it's not quite getting. Let me split it here. All right, this should add... That should add maybe a little bit more focus to it. Let's give it a listen.
Lay down your weapons, 'cause this is a fight nobody wins.
Cool. I actually think that sounds better. I know it was real subtle. One thing I want to mention, because I know we're on our second phrasing here, you can also do your, I don't want to call it automation, but you could actually adjust the amplitude of all of your, different blobs here. And that would basically take the place of doing automation on your tracks. So to do that, we would go over to the, amplitude tool right here. It's the very first one here. And then we can actually drag down or up, depending if we want to make the blob louder or softer. So if I drag down, so yeah, you can adjust volume that way per note. I have a lot of processing on these vocals right now, and I think they're sounding pretty good, but Melodyne is something that I may come back to later in the project, because I don't like to actually, I call it print the track until I feel 100% good about the Melodyne, which doesn't happen right when I finish. It's actually more around the mixing stage, because it happens. When you're mixing, you're like, oh, well, maybe that note needs to be a little louder, or this note needs to be a little softer, and it's like, well, I already have a Melodyne, and I don't want to use automation, so it's there for you to use. So let's listen to this phrasing one last time and see what we think.
Lay down your weapons, 'cause this is a fight nobody wins.
Yeah, I don't really see any timing problems looking at the grid here. I think that looks pretty good. Let's go over to our third phrase here, which is from here to here. So again, we'll highlight it all. Go to our pitch macro tool. Snap to chord scale is on. Pitch center to 100%. Pitch drift to 50%. Hit OK. Pitch modulation tool, second one down. Pull down to about 90%. Cool. And let's give that a listen. Let me see where that starts.
Absolution will always lose, never make somebody choose.
So you can see that phrase actually has some problems in it, so that's good. You'll get to see how we're going to make some adjustments to it. So let's see, where are we going to start with? Let's give it a listen again.
Absolution will always lose.
So absolution doesn't sound very good. We are going to split this first here. And we may pull this up all the way. Let's try that.
Absolution will always lose. Never.
Cool, that sounds really good. So there's not really a great way to explain what I just did, except that you got to kind of understand how vocals work. So I kind of have a little bit of a swoop in my voice on some notes, and that's why my note's not starting right at E, but it's a half step below. So depending on how your swoops work, you could be a half step or whole step below. But for this particular note, I think the half step sounds most natural. Now, when you split notes apart and you want to move them, it's best to highlight them both and move them together, because that's going to keep your more natural phrasing in place. So keep that in mind. So let's listen to the phrase and see what we want to fix next.
Absolution will always lose, never make.
Okay, we can hear a major problem right here. And this wasn't actually me singing it that way. Melodyne messed that up. So we're going to kind of split this where it starts to go up. So let's do a split here. And let's see, what else do we got here? I was kind of hoping this was going to go up with it, but it did not. So what if we split here? Nope, that didn't really do much. Let me actually undo that. Let's see. Let's give it a listen.
Solution will always lose, never make somebody.
I think the actual problem is it's reading this note down here. Let's listen now.
Solution will always lose, never make somebody choose.
So that was a little more natural there. Maybe we can even pull it down just a little bit more.
Solution will always lose, never make somebody choose.
I think that sounds better. Sometimes Melodyne is going to catch you off guard, and it's going to read notes in that still sound right, but they're kind of in the wrong place. It doesn't happen very often, but you're seeing it in real time right there, because this note should probably be where this phrase is actually at here, but it's fine. It still works. Let's see. Let's split up this one here also. And that takes us to G. We might want to bring this one up. Let's hear what that sounds like.
Solution will always lose, never make somebody choose.
Yeah, that sounds great. I like that. This here needs fixed also. Split it. That'll bring us up to here. We want to be with a G note here. If you know music theory, Melodyne is going to be very friendly to you. If you don't know music theory, you're going to be kind of moving notes around trying to find it. But it's actually a good way to learn music theory. So it's pretty cool. Anyway, let's move this down. All right, and this here, let's split this also. Gets challenging. There we go. Okay, and this down here, since it's kind of like a phrasing down, I know that C sharp's not in the key, but this isn't actually really hitting C sharp. It's kind of going down, probably to about a B here. So just, keep that in mind. Let's give it a listen.
Solution will always lose, never make somebody choose.
So some still kind of sounds high to me. Maybe we need to bring this whole phrase down. Let's hear what this sounds like.
Solution will always lose, never make somebody choose.
Yeah, see how it sounds a lot better there? Even though this note of D sharp is not in the key, again, that's a little swoop up. Maybe we can split this in half too here. And I guess we're going to probably want to bring this down. Let's try bringing it down maybe 2. This may not sound natural. We'll give it a shot.
Solution will always lose, never make somebody choose. Whoa!
It's so low that it's hard to tell. I'm going to bring it back up. Let's try this out.
Solution Solution will always lose, never make somebody choose. Whoa.
That should be fine. I'm not going to be picky about that. I think that sounds pretty good. Do we have any timing issues? Let's see. Looking at the phrasing. Let's hear it again.
Solution will always lose, never make somebody choose. Whoa.
Nah, I think it sounds pretty good. I don't have any complaints on it there. So let's get to our last section here. And let's highlight this. Pitch macro tool. Snap to chord scale on. Pitch center to 100%. Pitch drift to 50. Pitch modulation tool. Take it down to about 90%.
Whoa.
Cool. And let's give this a listen. Let's see, that's going to be about right here.
Choose. War is a mirage, so take off your camouflage. Yeah.
That sounds pretty good. It's funny doing Melodyne and with people watching, even though they're not really watching, but you are, because you're on YouTube right now. But I feel a little pressure doing this in real time. So anyway, let's cut this in half here and hear what that sounds like.
Choose. War is a mirage, so take off your camouflage. Yeah.
I'm going to chop this right here. Let's hear that.
Choose. War is a mirage, so take off your camouflage. Yeah.
Camouflage has kind of a little slur up here at the end of it, so I kind of like that, but I want to put it in place, so I'm going to split it here. And I'll take it up to there. It's probably a C, I would guess. Could be a B, but we'll move to C. Okay, listen for this note when I play it.
Choose. War is a mirage, so take off your camouflage.
Let's move it down to B. Give it a listen.
Choose. War is a mirage, so take off your camouflage. Yeah.
Cool, that sounds pretty good. And I got this little kind of, I don't know what to call it. I do this a lot at the end of my notes that kind of just gradually go down in pitch. So what we might want to do is maybe bring this up to, well, it's kind of ending at C, so that's good. But let's actually split this here. Maybe, it looks pretty good. Let's hear it again.
Choose. War is a mirage, so take off your camouflage. Yeah.
Yeah, if you could kind of really listen to the end of it, it does land in pitch, and that's what we want. So one thing I want to mention, as you guys are hearing, is I'm actually listening to the beginning of each phrase every time I make an edit, even if it's towards the end of the phrase. And I do that because I want to hear it in context. That's very important. If you don't listen in context and you start it, kind of right where you made the edit, you may actually miss it. It may sound good when it doesn't. So that's like kind of a mental thing. All right, so we pretty much corrected most of our chorus there. And the very last thing we have is just a little, I think I did a whoa-oh-oh or something here. So let's actually hear what that is.
Oh.
All right, so let's actually correct that real fast. Same process here. All right, let's hear what that sounds like. That doesn't sound like it's in key, does it? Let's hear with the music. Yeah, definitely not in key there. So I think I want to say it needs to go down. Or does it need to go up? I don't know. Let's move it around, see what happens. Actually, I feel like that's the note it's supposed to end on, so... Is that where it was? I don't know. Let's see. Let's see. Let's put this here. Right there. So it should be oh. So the first note should be Okay, perfect. And as you move notes around, you can actually hear them, which is great. So if you hum it out yourself, you know what it's supposed to be. And this note should probably be an A because it's just supposed to go down 3 whole steps. All right, let's see if we're closer to the ballpark here. Let's hear it again. Yeah, no complaints. That sounds pretty good. Cool. So we have completely pitch corrected, time corrected. We didn't have to do much amplitude correction. We have corrected our syllabants, so that is good. The main thing now is you need to make sure that this is aligned with our backing tracks here. I mean, really, the backing tracks need to be aligned with the main vocal, but I decided to do it backwards this time. So let's actually hear these as a chorus together. Let's hear what it sounds like.
Feel can blur the lines out there, we don't see the signs. Lay down your weapons, cause this is a fight nobody wins. Absolution will always lose, never make somebody choose. War is a mirage, so take off your camouflage, yeah.
Sounds pretty good. So I think I might have heard a little bit of pitch problem on off, but it probably won't be heard when it's in the music. And that could be coming from one of my double tracks here. So the only thing I hear timing wise that's bothering me is absolution. But let me hear it again. Let me see if it's around here.
Fight nobody wins. Absolution will always lose, never make.
So since I already finished these ones here, let's actually make sure that absolution looks good for our main track here. So let's see, where would absolution be? That should be the third phrase. So it should be this one here. So let's give this a listen again in solo.
Absolution.
Hear it again.
Absolution will always.
I feel like it's pretty much linear where it needs to be. I don't know if we can maybe... No, see, because this ends right there on the line. I really like that. And this kind of starts right there. I mean, it looks pretty good. So it's probably coming from one of my other double tracks there. But I mean, overall, I think it sounds pretty solid. You know, as I said, I might go and make some further adjustments when I get closer to the mixing stage, or even within the mixing stage. We'll see. Because you discover things as you get further along. So that's just the way it works for whether you're an amateur or professional. So I want to give you guys one last bonus tip here. So when you guys have layers of vocals, leave all of your breaths in your main vocal, chop them out of your double tracks. That's what I did here. As you can see, I have cuts within here. I know not, let me zoom in a little bit here. You can see. So yeah, so these are all cut out here. So those are all the breaths cut out. And I also like to reduce the syllabants even more on these double tracks here because I want to get the, S's or whatever mostly from the main track. So, I mean, yeah. So let your main track have all that and let your double tracks just have the meat behind them. That's going to beef up your main vocal track. So, I mean, that's really all there's to Melodyne 5 and doing vocals. You have all the tools within there you need to make a vocal sound great. You have pitch. You have timing, you have amplitude, you can reduce your S's. It's an amazing tool. So I hope you guys learned a lot about Melodyne 5 today. And if you don't have it, I definitely recommend going out and get it. Your music will thank you. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe. I love making this content for you. And hit that notification bell to know I have new videos coming out. So with that being said, I will see you guys later, and peace out.